I didn't think much of it when my landlord told me not to use the second key. He said it casually, like it was just some random rule, not a warning. The place was cheap, which is the only reason I took it. A small basement unit with low ceilings, slightly damp walls, and barely any signal. In a city where rent drains you, you don't ask too many questions. When he handed me the keys, he held one up and said it was for the front door. Then he showed me the second one and told me not to use it. I asked why, and he just smiled and said the lock was old and tended to stick. That should have been enough to raise suspicion, but I ignored it. 3 nights later, I heard the first sound, a soft click, like a lock turning. I froze in bed, staring into the dark hallway outside my room. Then came footsteps, slow, careful, like someone trying not to be heard. They stopped right outside my door. I didn't move, barely even breathed. After a few seconds, there was another click, and then silence. I stayed awake the rest of the night. The next morning, I checked everything. The front door was locked, windows sealed, no signs of forced entry. I convinced myself it was just the building making noise. That lie worked for exactly 1 day. The second night, it happened again. Same click, same footsteps. This time I got up and stepped into the hallway. It was empty, but something felt off. The front door was slightly open. Not wide, just enough to notice. I knew I had locked it. I always double-checked. When I went to close it, I noticed there were actually 2 locks on the door, but I had only been using one. The next day, I called the landlord and told him what was happening. The first thing he asked was whether I had used the second key. I told him I hadn't. There was a long pause before he said, "Good, don't." That was it. No explanation. That night, I stayed awake on purpose. I sat in the dark, waiting. Around 1 a.m., I heard a click, but not from the front door. It came from behind me. I turned slowly and saw my bedroom door moving. It was closing on its own, stopping halfway like someone was holding it from the other side. I ran to it and pulled it open. The hallway was empty again, but the front door was wide open this time. That was enough. I packed a bag and decided to leave. As I was about to go, I picked up the second key. I don't know why, maybe curiosity. I put it into the second lock and turned it. It moved smoothly, no resistance at all. The door opened a little wider than before, and that's when I saw it a second latch on the outside, hidden from view. That lock wasn't broken. It was designed to be opened from outside, quietly. I left immediately and didn't come back for 2 weeks. When I finally returned with a friend to collect my remaining things, the landlord was there. He seemed nervous this time. When I mentioned the noises, he admitted the previous tenant had complained about the same thing, footsteps at night. I asked what happened to him, and after a pause, the landlord said the tenant had tried changing the locks. I asked if it worked. He shook his head and said, "No, because whoever it was already had a key." This happened during my second year of college. One evening, around 9:30 p.m., I missed my usual bus home. The next one wasn't for another hour, and I was already tired. Then a bus showed up out of nowhere. It didn't have a route number, and the inside lights were off, but it stopped right in front of me and opened its doors. I hesitated for a second, but still got on. There were only about 6 people inside. All of them were sitting alone, spaced out, completely silent. No one was on their phone, no one talking, just sitting there. That alone felt strange. I took a seat near the back, and the bus started moving. After about 10 minutes, I realized we weren't following the usual route. I stood up and walked toward the driver to ask, but he didn't respond. He didn't even turn his head. He just kept driving. That's when I looked at the mirror above him. There was no reflection. Where his face should have been, there was just darkness. I stepped back slowly, trying to process what I was seeing. Then I looked at the passengers again. They were all staring at me now. At the same time, no expression, no blinking, just watching. I went straight to the door and pressed the stop button. Nothing happened. I pressed it again, harder this time, but the bus didn't slow down. If anything, it felt like it was going faster. When I turned back, one of the passengers had stood up. He moved toward me slowly, in a way that didn't look natural, like his body wasn't working properly. His footsteps made no sound. The others stayed seated, still watching. I ran to the emergency exit and pulled the lever, but it wouldn't open. I pulled again, harder, but nothing happened. By then, the man was only a few steps away. Then suddenly, the bus stopped. The door opened. I didn't think I just jumped out. I hit the ground hard, scraping my hands, but I got up immediately. When I turned around, the bus was gone, completely gone. No sound, no lights, nothing. That's when I realized I had no idea where I was. It wasn't my route, not even close. The road was empty, with no buildings or traffic. I walked for about 20 minutes before finally reaching a main road and getting home. I didn't tell anyone at first because it sounded insane, but a couple of days later, I told a friend. Instead of laughing, he went quiet and asked me what time it happened. When I told him, he said his cousin had experienced something similar the previous year. According to him, his cousin had gotten on a bus with no route number late at night, but he never got off. They found him the next morning walking along a highway, disoriented, without his phone or belongings, unable to recognize anyone. When I asked what he said happened, my friend told me something I still think about. He said the bus never stopped, until someone stood up, and I can't stop thinking about how close that man got to me just a few steps away. If the bus hadn't stopped when it did, I know exactly what would have happened next. I would have been the one standing,